The COVID-19 pandemic, it touched everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah.
But today, we're looking past the usual stuff. We're diving into something unexpected. The innovation and resilience that popped up, especially in China's tech scene.
Exactly. We're working from this really interesting newsletter by Takifumi Makino, an IT journalist, and it really pulls back the curtain on how Chinese tech giants reacted right at the start. Some pretty surprising tech, and even like new ways of thinking came out of it.
Yeah, and this isn't just a history lesson. We want to find those moments, those key insights into how tech and business just shifted incredibly fast. The ingenuity there, it has lessons way beyond just that specific crisis.
Right. Makino's newsletter gives us that boots on the ground feel. It details what specific companies did, the big trends that really grabbed hold early on.
Okay, so let's get into it, starting with Alibaba. It's kind of striking how their SARS experience back in 2003. It wasn't just history. It actively shaped how they handled COVID-19 from day one.
That's such a key point. Back in '03, Alibaba was way smaller. Taobao had only just launched. But SARS, well, it turned out to be this huge catalyst for them, pushing people online. So when COVID hit, they had this built-in memory almost. They understood how a health crisis rocks society and, importantly, how tech fits in.
Absolutely. The newsletter really emphasizes how fast they were. Even before Chinese New Year, when the news out of Wuhan was just starting to break, boom, Alibaba bans price gouging for masks on Taobao and Tmall. I mean, think about the scale of that, preventing exploitation right away.
And it wasn't just a rule. They actively told all their sellers, look, freeze prices, keep enough stock, and critically keep shipping through the Spring Festival holiday.
Yeah.
They knew people needed reliable access, like fundamentally.
And they brought consumers into it too, didn't they?
Yeah.
The newsletter mentions this subsidy thing for masks. If you paid too much, Alibaba actually gave you the difference back.
Yeah, they did.
Plus, this system where shoppers could report gouging, get rewards, while sellers who broke the rules could get their accounts frozen, that's a pretty robust way to keep the market stable.
It really is. And Ali Health, their health division, promising nonstop delivery of medicines, masks, disinfectants right through the holiday period. That's massive, considering the logistical nightmare everything was becoming.
But here's the thing. The newsletter points out that not everyone saw it that way at first. Some media apparently criticized them for, overreacting, worries about the economy causing psychological anxiety. It's easy to forget how uncertain those very early days were.
Exactly. Nobody really knew the full scale yet, but looking back now, Jack Ma's actions, probably informed by that SARS muscle memory, seem incredibly prescient. They just got what happens in a crisis: shortages, the shift online, all of it.
So Alibaba kind of set the tone. But the newsletter shows it wasn't just them. Loads of tech companies jumped in, and it was about more than just cash donations.
That's a really important distinction, yeah. I mean, the money was huge. Alibaba's billion yuan, over 350 companies chipping in more than 12 billion yuan total. But how they contributed, that's key.
Right. Not just general charity pots.
Yeah.
The money was often specifically for things like getting medical gear, helping prevention efforts, boosting public health safety, targeted stuff.
And lots of donations in kind, plus operational help. Like JD.com gave 1 million masks, 60,000 medical supply items, and crucially, used their own logistics network to get them where they needed to go, fast.
Which makes total sense, right? When
Yeah.
things are chaotic, just wiring money.
Yeah.
It doesn't always solve the immediate problem. You need the actual stuff, the delivery network, the expertise to manage it all.
Precisely. And the newsletter mentions this interesting synergy where you had the big guys with the deep pockets funding things and then smaller companies adding their specific resources, maybe personnel on the ground. It was like a team effort using different strengths.
Okay, now let's shift to some of the really groundbreaking tech that came out of this. The newsletter talks about Alibaba's Demo Academy using AI for diagnostics. That sounds like a pretty big deal.
Oh, it's seriously impressive. Demo Academy built an AI specifically for diagnosing COVID-19 super quickly from lung CT scans. And the accuracy they hit was 96%.
96%. Wow, that's high. And it wasn't just about being right, was it? The speed was a major factor mentioned.
Absolutely. The AI could whip through a patient's CT scans. We're talking maybe 300 images in about 20 seconds. Now, compare that to a human doctor needing maybe 5 to 15 minutes when cases are piling up. That time saving is just immense.
And this wasn't just a lab experiment. The newsletter says it was actually used deployed in 26 hospitals across 16 provinces, with plans to roll it out to over 100. That's real-world impact.
It is, and you have to see that 96% accuracy in context. It wasn't about replacing doctors, not at all. It was a tool to help overloaded medics quickly sort through scans, flag the critical cases faster, just streamline everything.
But getting an AI that good, that must have been tricky at first. The newsletter mentions needing enough training data as a hurdle.
That's right. I mean, for an AI to learn image recognition like that, it needs tons of examples. They needed something like 5,000 CT scans from actual COVID cases. But early on, diagnoses relied mainly on PCR tests, which were, slower. So they didn't have that flood of confirmed scan data initially.
Right. It's like teaching a kid to spot something specific. You need to show them lots and lots of examples first.
Exactly. Which leads us to the rapid test kits. They were crucial. Spearheaded by Zhongnan Shan, who, as the newsletter points out, also led the SARS response, interestingly.
Ah, okay, so these rapid tests change things.
Massively. They could be used by people with just basic training, gave results in like 15 minutes. Once they started being widely used around mid-February, the number of confirmed cases shot up.
Which sounds bad, maybe, but in this context.
It was actually good for the AI development. Suddenly, Demo Academy had the thousands of confirmed case scans they needed to really train and fine-tune the diagnostic AI. It's a cool example of how different bits of tech and medicine kind of pushed each other forward.
Okay, that makes sense. Progress in testing enabled progress in AI diagnostics.
Precisely. It built a stronger overall response strategy.
So, moving beyond diagnostics, the newsletter also talks about how tech companies were key in getting information out and sort of shaping how the public understood what was happening.
Yeah, that was huge. Big news portals, think ByteDance's Today's Headlines, 10 cents, 10-cent news. They quickly set up these special sections with real-time outbreak data. But they did something really smart, something innovative in how they showed the numbers.
Oh, what was that?
They didn't just report the confirmed cases, they also showed the number of suspected cases, people with symptoms who were still waiting for test results.
Ah, okay, that's a really crucial difference, isn't it? So even if PCR testing was lagging behind the spread, people got maybe a more realistic early picture.
Exactly. Early on, you might have had confirmed cases in the hundreds, but suspected cases were already in the thousands. That likely gave people a much clearer sense of, okay, this is serious, even before the official confirmed count caught up.
And you could argue that maybe helped people accept the really strict measures that came later, the lockdowns, travel bans, if you already felt the potential scale was huge.
That seems very plausible, yeah. And then, as the rapid tests and AI kicked in and confirmed cases jumped up, these platforms kept showing both numbers. Crucially, the suspected cases started dropping sharply at the same time.
Okay, so people could see the rise in confirmed cases was mostly because testing got faster, not necessarily that the underlying spread exploded overnight. That must have helped build trust in the numbers.
Absolutely. That transparency was key. And it wasn't just about case numbers. The newsletter mentions they also reported recovered patients and the current active cases. Seeing that numbers start to trend down after mid-February, outside Wuhan anyway, must have given people some hope.
Yeah, tangible proof the measures were working in many places. Okay, let's switch gears a bit to daily life. How did things adapt? The newsletter suggests a pretty massive shift in how people bought things, got food.
Oh, definitely. With people stuck at home, e-commerce obviously surged, but also this thing called new retail supermarkets. They blend online ordering and physical stores, especially for fresh groceries they took off, and food delivery, just exploded.
So new retail is kind of like you can order online from the supermarket app, or you can still go into the store.
Exactly. It blurs the lines. And the numbers in the newsletter are pretty staggering. Alibaba's HameFresh orders up 220%, Miss Fresh, another grocery platform, sales up 350%, people spending 50% more per order.
Yeah, no.
JD.OG sales up 374%. Meat sales through them apparently went up over 700%.
Wow, that's not just growth, that's transformation. And the author thinks this might stick, that the pandemic basically cemented these new ways of shopping.
Yeah, that's the suggestion. Like the crisis just massively accelerated trends that were already bubbling under.
And delivery platforms like Alo.me, Matron grew fast too. But it was tough for regular restaurants, right? Many had to close or just do takeout.
Right. And to deal with the fear of contact, you saw contactless delivery pop up everywhere, leaving food at the door, using special drop-off boxes, that kind of thing.
And those peace of mind cards, that was fascinating. Getting a card with your food order, listing the chef's name and temperature, the packers, the delivery drivers. That's a real effort to build
It
trust.
really is. Shows a focus on transparency. And the newsletter hints this could get automated later, maybe using smartwatches and apps for real-time health info.
Okay, now this next one sounds really unique. The sharing staff idea. What was that all about? It sounds like a creative fix for a tricky problem.
It was pretty ingenious, actually. So you had restaurants, shops forced to close, zero income, but they still had staff costs, right? Big problem.
Right, paying people with no money coming in.
Meanwhile, places like Hema Fresh, the new retail guys, were totally swamped. Huge demand, desperate need for more staff delivery drivers, warehouse workers, everything.
So the solution was sharing.
Basically, yeah. Hema Fresh started borrowing employees from those businesses that had temporarily shut down. They called it the Sharing Staff Initiative. They could train these folks up pretty quickly, maybe just a day or so.
Huh. And that worked for everyone.
Seemed to. The closed businesses didn't have to lay off all their staff, cut their wage bill, maybe avoided going bankrupt. And Hema Fresh got the people they desperately needed, like immediately.
And the plan was always for these workers to go back to their original jobs once things opened up again.
That was the idea, yeah. A flexible way to handle this massive, uneven shock to the labor market. The newsletter says some media called it genius. You can kind of see why. It's a novel approach to extreme supply and demand mismatches.
It really makes you think, could that model work elsewhere? Different crises.
It definitely raises questions about more flexible workforce models for the future. The newsletter also notes the boom in collaboration tools.
Right, like Alibaba's Ding Talk.
Yeah.
Suddenly essential for remote work, online classes, with everyone stuck at home.
And then the health QR codes, using temperature, location data to give everyone a color code: green, yellow, red. Red or yellow meant restrictions couldn't go into certain public places, started in Hangzhou, then spread pretty widely.
Yeah, those codes became a really visible part of daily life there for managing movement.
Undoubtedly a major tool for control during the outbreak.
So wrapping up, what's the big picture takeaway from the newsletter, the author's overall view?
Well, the author kind of sees the whole crisis, despite the cost, as maybe a catalyst, something that could ultimately strengthen Chinese society. They draw a parallel to SARS back in '03, how that really pushed the internet and e-commerce forward in China. The idea that big challenges can force adaptation, maybe even progress.
There's that little anecdote too, right, about someone in Shanghai getting stuck in traffic again and it feeling good, like a sign of normal life returning.
Yeah, it's a nice human touch. It grounds it all. And the final thought really is that, yes, it was a terrible crisis, but it also sparked this incredible burst of tech adoption, new business ideas, innovative solutions, and maybe some of those changes will stick, leading to longer-term positive shifts.
So as we close out this deep dive, the thing that really jumps out is just the sheer speed and breadth of innovation tech, business models that China showed in response. These sort of unexpected silver linings, the adaptability from companies and the public.
Absolutely. We saw real ingenuity, didn't we? The AI diagnostics, that whole sharing staff concept, the transparency in data, even if driven by necessity. It shows how pressure can really accelerate problem solving.
And for you listening, hoping to get up to speed quickly on complex topics, we hope this gave you a concentrated dose of understanding. A look at a huge global event, but through this specific, revealing lens of tech and adaptation in a crisis.
Yeah, and maybe a final thought to leave you with. How might this rapid adoption of tech, these collaborative models we saw, how might that inform how we tackle future global challenges, not just pandemics, but other big issues? It's definitely something worth thinking about. The long-term ripple effects of these kinds of rapid shifts.